Welcome to your Prep for Birth yoga flow. This practice is designed to help your body prepare for labor and delivery and teach you how to relax your pelvic floor. We'll go through a series of different postures and breathing techniques to help you open up your pelvic floor, your hips, and your low back. You can do this practice once a day or several times a week, and you'll find that a lot of these postures support your body and your joints as you move into this final phase of pregnancy. We're gonna get started with something called diaphragmatic breathing or deep diaphragm breathing. You're welcome to find a comfortable sitting position such as kneeling or cross-legged, or you can lay on your back if you're comfortable with that. I'm going to be taking the reclined position here. So join me in whatever position feels good for you. And once you arrive, I want you to take one hand on top of your chest and the other hand to your belly. Go ahead and close your eyes. And just start with a couple easy breaths on your own. Starting to come into your body, come into your mind. And our first breathing exercise is meant to help us learn how to relax and let go of our pelvic floor muscles through the breath. So in your next inhalation, I want you to focus on breathing down into your belly and down into your pelvic bowl. Feel the hand on your belly rise to the ceiling. And on your exhale, feel everything relax back down towards your spine or down towards the floor. So your inhale breaths are expansive. You're breathing low into your pelvic bowl, into your belly, into your ribs. And on every exhale, I want you to imagine your muscles and your bones just relaxing a little bit more. It can also be helpful to visualize the openings to your vagina and anus, kind of relaxing or letting go with every inhalation breath that you take. Every breath in, creating space, creating relaxation through your entire body. Take 2 more breaths here. And this diaphragmatic breathing technique will be integrated throughout the rest of our postures in this video. If you're laying on your back, I want you to go ahead and roll to one side into a fetal position and use a hand to help you press up into a comfortable seat. So our next posture is a tabletop position for cat and cow. So come into hands and knees, with your hands underneath of your shoulders and your knees underneath of your hips. I want you to find a neutral spine so your back isn't arched or rounded, you're just right in the middle. Feel equally grounded through your knees and your palms, and your spine is long. We're gonna start with that deep breath before we move into some spinal motions. So on your inhale, I want you to imagine your belly relaxing towards the earth, creating expansion. And on your exhale, there's just a softening of the breath out. Again, like that, inhale, fill up your ribs, your belly, expand baby and belly towards the floor. Exhale and relax. Now we'll start to integrate some cow and cat. So on your inhale breath, I want you just to gently drop your belly and look up. And on your exhale, I want you to round your spine, bringing babe to spine, chin to chest. Inhale, just a light softening of your belly to the ground, gazing up. Exhale, round your spine, babe to spine, chin to chest. 3 more like that. Inhale, cow pose, belly down. Exhale, cat pose, babe to spine. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. Come back to your neutral spinal position. Bring your big toes together and your knees nice and wide on the mat for child's pose. Send your hips back towards your heels until your hips or your glutes rest on your heels, or maybe they don't quite touch, that's okay. And bring your forehead to the ground. You can always stack your forehead on your hands if that's more comfortable for you. Focus on letting your belly be heavy towards the earth. And your back and your abdominal muscles are relaxing. Again, visualize your vaginal and anal opening, kind of softening or spreading apart with every breath cycle that you take. Also notice if you're creating tension in other areas of your body, such as your jaw or your shoulders. See if you can soften that space out. Two more breaths. From here, reach your hands forward again if they're not there. Plant firmly through your palms and come up to a tabletop position. We're gonna move from tabletop to child's pose. So take an inhale to prepare, and on your exhale, sink your hips towards your heels. Inhale, coming forward. Exhale, sinking your hips to your heels. Let's go 3 more like that. Inhale, body forward. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale. Exhale. And 1 more time, breathe in, come forward. Breathe out, hips to heels. All right, and come back to hands and knees, and then swing your legs around in front of you and take a seat. We're gonna start to open up our hip joint. So that's the ball and socket joint that is right at your pelvis. By opening and mobilizing the hips, this will help you with getting into different labor or delivery positions. So you're gonna start sitting, rooting through your sitting bones. Take your feet really wide. And I want you just to kind of be on your heels here. Your hands are behind you, lift your chest, and let your legs fall to one side. So in my case, I'm just letting my legs fall to the left. Then I'm gonna come back to center and let my legs fall to the right. And I just want you to oscillate through those 2 directions, letting your hips and your knees and your legs fall from right to left. Notice if there is any tension or sticky spots during this movement. A couple more each direction. And no need to force the mobility, just kind of let your legs fall as far down to the floor as they'll go. All right, and on this next rotation through, I want you to rotate all the way to the right. So your right knee is or your right shin is parallel to the front of your mat, and your back leg is behind you, kind of like a Z, the letter Z. Lengthen your spine over that front leg, and just start to walk your hands forward and fold forward any amount. You'll start to feel a stretch in your outer right glute. If you don't feel much of a stretch, you can kind of fold a little bit more, or however much space that you have with baby there. Take a couple breaths, breathing down into your pelvic bowl, down into your belly and back. And then go ahead and come on up and switch sides. Let your legs fall over to the left. So now your left shin is parallel to the top of your mat, and your right leg is behind you. Frame your leg with your hands, lengthen your spine on your in-breath, and fold as far down as feels good for you on your out-breath. Again, belly might dictate how far forward you're able to fold, and you should feel a stretch in your outer left glute. Breathe in deeply, and breathe out completely. Go ahead and come back to center, and we'll find a deep squat position. So you might want a blanket for this deep squat position, and I'll show you what that looks like. So you're gonna take your heels in and your toes out, so your feet are pretty wide, and your hips and your glutes towards the floor. Now, if your heels don't easily touch the ground, they're kind of lifted like this, just roll up a towel or a blanket to put under your heels so you have more space. You can also hold on to a countertop or a sturdy post to provide some upper arm, upper extremity support. But if this feels okay, I want you to come into this position and bring your hands to your heart. This deep squat position is wonderful for helping lengthen and open our pelvic floor, and is also considered a birth position. Allow your knees to open as wide as feels good, and breathe into your belly. Breathe into your low back and your rib cage. And try to let go of any tensing around your glutes, your abdominals, or your hips. Letting that breath go all the way down into the vaginal region, all the way down to the bowl. One more breath here. Place your hands on the floor, lift your hips, and just give yourself a couple motions up and down to work out of that pose. Next, I want you to take your blanket or your towel if you have one, or a foam roller works wonderfully. If you're using your blanket or towel, roll it up like a foam roller, and you're gonna find that deep squat position again, and place that foam roller or rolled up towel right between your sitting bones, kind of pressing on your perineum or your pelvic area. And this foam roller provides some pressure which can kind of help mobilize or relax the muscles at your pelvic floor. So if it feels good, you can kind of rock a little bit side to side or oscillate back and forward. All the while, I'm moving slow and fluid through this. And I'm breathing down into my belly and down into my pelvic bowl. And if this feels helpful and good for you, you can stay here as long as you'd like or integrate this one into your day, just like any of the other postures. I'll be here for about 15 more seconds. You can also just be still on the foam roller working that breath down into your pelvic bowl. And then go ahead and come off of that foam roll or towel roll and set that aside. Come back into a seated position and send your right leg out towards the top of your mat or side of your mat. We're gonna work the muscles of our inner thighs. These muscles attach up into our pubic bone and have close connections to the pelvic floor. So if these are tight, sometimes our pelvic muscles can be tight. That's why we want to work on stretching them. Start lengthening up tall and fold down right into the middle of your legs, feeling a nice stretch into that right inner thigh. And then go ahead and come on up and let's switch sides. Take your left leg out and your right foot to your pelvis. Find length out through that leg, hands to center, and then fold right into the middle. Again, taking a couple deep breaths. And I want you to feel this right at your left inner thigh or groin region. It should never be painful. It should just feel like a good stretch. And go ahead and come on up. We'll add on to this posture, taking both legs out. Now, if this is really challenging to do, you can always bend your knees or sit upright on a blanket. Just give yourself a little height. And your knees don't have to be so far apart. So take the position that works for you, bring your hands outside of your legs, lengthen up, and eventually your hands might come inside and fold as far down as feels good and supportive in your body. Again, it should feel like a good stretch, but not pain anywhere in your legs or your back. Two more breaths. And slowly walk your hands back to your hips and come off of your blanket or towel if you were sitting on one. We'll end on our back in a posture called Happy Baby Pose. Now, if you're not comfortable reclining on your back, you can always use a bolster or a pillow, maybe a blanket on top of that to semi-recline. So you're not flat on your back, it's up to you. Otherwise, I want you to just lay right on down. We're gonna finish with a posture called Happy Baby. So bring your hands to the inside of your ankles or the outsides of your feet and allow your knees to track wide and your thighs to track down towards the floor. Breathe down into your vaginal region, anal area, pelvic floor muscles. And just let your breath permeate that entire space. Relax your shoulders, your jaw, your neck. And just allow your body to be heavy on the mat. If it feels good, you can add just a little bit of rocking side to side, some movement right and left. Otherwise, you can stay still. Let's take one more deep inhale together. And an open mouth exhale. Release your feet to the ground, roll to one side, and press yourself up into a seated position. Thank you so much for taking time to practice your Prep for Birth flow, and reach out to me if you have any questions.